We are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, and what better way to do that than highlight an author who has years of experience writing and editing books on Latinx literature, popular culture, and even graphic novels. And this week you'll be able to kind of pick the brain with upcoming discussions and workshops. But before we do all of that, he's actually joining us right now here on Studio 10. We got to welcome Dr. Aldama. How are you doing?
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Nicole, for having me on the show. I'm doing really well.
Yeah, so we know you're kind of based more in Austin, so it's quite the journey to get here, but for good reason, to come on MSU and to have such great discussions. But I have to brag a little bit about you for a moment, because you are the National Academic Arts and Sciences inductee. You were honored with the American Association of Hispanics in Higher Education's Book of the Year Award, and the list goes on and on. When you hear those things, does like the little kid in you think that you ever would get to this moment as being an author? Like, is that shocking? Has that always been a goal?
You know, I feel like I've never gotten there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, even all the accolades, if there are, and they happen to be a lot. Yeah, I still feel like I'm that little kid's kind of reaching.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a kid reaching, I was also reaching for story, as you know, Nicole. So I was born in Mexico City, but things didn't work out with my dad in Mexico. My mom is Guatemalan Irish from East LA. She took us back to California. And this was the 70s when kids like me were told not to speak that dirty Mexican in school. Bad times. My mom actually, as a result of that, dedicated her life to become a bilingual education teacher.
Wow.
But there was always story in our lives, especially coming from my abuelita, my grandma. And the one story that really struck me as a kid was the one that she would tell us when our chickens were attacked, and it was the chupacabra that would come and attack the chickens. And this is a kind of mythological creature many of us hear about in the Southwest and California, Puerto Rico. And it's literally the bloodsucker, or the goat sucker. And so, but I turned that into a story, and I started writing. And in fact, that was my first story. I put it in a drawer, but my chupacabra was named Charlie, and he would travel around the world in his Knickerbocker, a flying vessel vehicle thing, to save children that were in trouble anywhere on the planet.
Yeah.
I put him in the drawer until about, what, 10 years ago or something. I pulled him back out again. One of my kids' books is called The Adventures of Chupacabra Charlie.
And there you go, and you're always finding those stories, and that reach so many different audiences as well, which is super important. And you're able to host 2 discussions today at MSU, one today and one tomorrow over at MSU's museum. So how do narratives in all forms, whether that be children's stories or novels, graphic novels, kind of can create bridges between cultures and even generations, so that way we can continue to learn?
Great question, Nicole. The $1 million question.
Right.
But really, story is the heart that beats in our chest. Story is how you and I connect right now, how we make community, how you and I begin to see the full complexity of the humans that we are, the joys and the sorrows. That's what story is all about, connecting on a deep, deep level. Now, the more stories we can have out in the world, right, and the more young people we can grow to what I call story think, that is to think about what if, not just what is, but what if. Yeah. So get the new generations, get us even, to be thinking about the what if. That opens all sorts of possibilities beyond, and all sorts of great new possibilities that we haven't even imagined to connect as human beings together.
Yes, and we're going to be able to get those what ifs, that story think, also tomorrow when you're teaching the tools. And so it's beyond that discussion to MSU students or the community, because this is a free event. So you definitely want to check it out tonight starting at 5 o'clock and then tomorrow at 5 o'clock. But real quick, what advice would you give to someone who's sitting and they're like, I know I have a story to be told, I just don't know how to begin?
Get your pencil, your computer out, and start writing. Just start writing, and then ask yourself, well, what if?
What if? There you go. Well, thank you so much for all that you do for so many communities and telling those stories and finding those stories within everyone and the cultures and the communities. So thank you so much, and best of luck tonight. Remember, it all starts at 5 o'clock tonight and tomorrow as well for those free discussions, and get that story think going on. All right. Well, there's more studio